Well, hello, and welcome once again to 25 o'clock. I'm your host, Dan Drago. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the show, downloading it, streaming it, having it, holding it close to you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you are having some sort of contact, be it physical or non-physical, with the program known as 25 o'clock. That started out weird. It's got a great show this week. I have Brian Walker on the show. We had a great conversation. He plays under the name A Day Without Love. He's a Philadelphia area musician, phenomenal guy. We have a really cool conversation, and I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit, but strap yourselves in, folks. I got a few things to say before we get to it. First off, go to 25o'clockpod.com. If you're new to the show, maybe you're a fan of Brian, maybe you're a fan of A Day Without Love or the Philly DIY scene, hey, welcome to the show. Go to 25o'clockpod.com. You can check out the archives, all the previous 51 episodes before this. They're all up there for streaming, download. They're free. Check them out. Tons of musicians, most from Philly, some not from Philly. So, venture out of your locale and check out someone new. You can check that all out at 25o'clockpod.com. There's a mailing list. You can sign up for that. You can find Facebook and Twitter links there as well. I got a cool page called the Friends and Neighbors page. It's where you can click on links to anyone and everyone who's ever had any part of the show. They've been on it. I've played their track. I've mentioned them fondly. Chances are there's a link to them at the Friends and Neighbors page. You can learn more about them. So 25o'clockpod.com. Good stuff. Anyway, before I get too into talking about my conversation with Brian Walker, and this will all kind of tie in, just come with me on this. It's currently Monday night right now. I am not watching the debates. I've missed the entire debates. I've chosen instead to edit this show and work on putting this show out. I feel like that's my best combat against just the general levels of poison that seem to exist in the media right now, that seem to exist in an undertaking that in any other country that they don't have the right to vote in free election, they would kill. They would kill to have the freedom that we do to be able to choose our elected officials, and instead we pump the world. We pump our world, our political world, just full of poison and grossness and factoids and just everything but what it should be about. And that's about all I'm going to say on the debates. I'm missing them. I can't say much more about them because I'm not watching them, and I probably won't watch them, and I'm probably going to avoid a lot of the highlights that get spewed around tomorrow and respun and hacked up and thrown back and turned into memes and retweeted and all that. It's not that I don't want to engage. It's that I don't want to engage on that level. And if that makes me sound like some sort of superior jerk or something like that, I apologize. I'm not trying to. I can't engage. I can't engage on this level anymore. It literally makes me feel heavy inside on the insides of my body. But anyway, I wanted to talk about something else though. I have a very good friend who I hope one day to have on the show should our paths ever cross in person. I have a really good friend named Jeff Taylor who writes for a publication in Charlotte, North Carolina called Q Notes. It's an LGBT arts and entertainment and culture newspaper, and has an excellent website, qnotes.com. But Jeff has been going out into the streets for the last few nights and live streaming some of the protests, some of the activity going on in Charlotte right now. And I have to say, it's guys like him, not just him, there are other people doing it as well, but obviously he's my avenue into this because I know him. I can honestly say that I do watch it knowing that he's holding, the phone, the video recording device, and knowing he's on the other end of that, and he's kind of putting himself in some really interesting situations, some very, I would deem to be scary situations. But he's showing everyone of us what's going on so that later when I see it on the news, I can think to myself, well, that's not how it looked, when someone on the street was holding it up. So I just want to throw that out to you. Anyone out there who's interested in learning more about what's going on in Charlotte, there are tons of great news sources out there who are doing their best to tell the real story, to try and tell as many stories as they can. And Q Notes out of Charlotte is one of them. And My buddy Jeff Taylor has been writing some great articles about the Charlotte protests over the last week or so. And you should check it out if that's something you're interested in. qnotes.com. That's Charlotte's LGBT arts and culture paper. And I think talking about Charlotte kind of ties into me talking about Brian Walker, my guest on the show this week. Brian is a musician, as I said, plays under the name of Day Without Love. He has a new record out right now called Solace, which is out on Sounds and Tones Records. I am holding it in my hands right now. Hear that? That's the sound of a physical copy, baby. Physical albums in my hand. I love it. It's a great record. A very personal record, a very honest record. And Brian and I had a very, very profound conversation, at least for me, maybe not as much for him because he lives it. But one of the main themes in this conversation is about Brian being a young black man playing rock music in a sort of a DIY punk scene that seems to not know what to do with him. And we talk about it more, but the way he puts it and kind of opened my eyes to it is that in a lot of these art scenes, these DIY art scenes, punk rock, indie rock, things like that, on the surface, it seems to be this big, inclusive hangout club. Everyone's welcome. If you feel like you don't belong, there's always a place to belong, and very often a DIY punk or music scene can be that place. But he's really opened my eyes to the fact that these are incredibly white-dominated scenes, and that they're not always as inclusive to black people who want to come in and be part of these scenes. They kind of look at them funny, being like, why are you here? Why are you playing rock music? Why aren't you doing the kinds of music and artistic expressions that are expected of you? Hip hop, R&B, funk, jazz, blues, that kind of thing. Really, really interesting conversation that Brian and I had. And I knew a bit about this coming in because he's written some great pieces on his blog, which you can get to at adaywithoutlove.com. That's Brian's website. And that's the one-stop shop for everything. You get his blog, you get his tour dates, his merch, news, information about Brian himself. It's not every day I have distinctly profound conversations about race on the mic on my show, and then I kind of leave the conversation when he left the house. We chatted for a bit after we were off mic, and he left the house, and there was a lot for me to kind of go over in my head when we were done. And hopefully there'll be a lot for you to go over in your head too when you're done listening to the conversation and his song, and check out his record, Solace. He's got some dates coming up too. Let's see when this comes out. Thursday night, December. Geez, Dan. What day is it? Thursday, September 29th. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, A Day Without Love is going to be playing the Velvet Lounge, which is a great room to see Brian in. I've never seen Brian live before, but I have played the Velvet Lounge before, and I very much enjoyed that room. It's probably one of my favorite places to play in D.C. It is also probably one of 3 places I've played in D.C., so if there are better clubs in D.C., I'm not leaving you out. I just didn't happen to play at you. But that's Thursday, September 29th at the Velvet Lounge, A Day Without Love. And back here in Philly, October 15th at Ortlieb's with a great bill, also featuring Night Windows, who you all know, Ben Hughes, who's been on the show about 100 times. It's really been 3 or 4, but that's a great show. A Day Without Love, a couple of other great bands whose names are escaping me right now, and I apologize to those bands, and also Night Windows. He's also playing October 28th at Milk Boy South Street, the brand new venue on South Street. 4th and South, the old lickety split, is now a Milk Boy, and I have not made it out to it yet. I'm looking forward to it, and so who knows, maybe I will catch A Day Without Love twice in 1 month. Maybe I will go out to a club and see a band twice in 1 month. That would be something. But get all that information at adaywithoutlove.com, and that's it. That's all I got. That's my ramblings for this week. Those of you who are fast forwarding, I could make a little noise right now, like that means you can stop fast forwarding right now, and that we're about to go into the conversation, and we're going to do it. Let's go to my conversation with Brian Walker, A Day Without Love, here on 25 o'clock.
just roll with the flow.
Yeah. Well, I do that in post because I think there's nothing weirder than like us sitting down here and pretending that we're doing the show live. It's just
That's
like,
true.
we're not doing the show live. It'll be weeks till this comes out.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
Let's not kid each other. Oh gosh. So you said you live in Northwest.
Yeah.
Are you from Philly?
I was born at Germantown Hospital, and I was born and raised in West Oak Lane, right by like Wadsworth Avenue, that area. And I went to McCluskey Elementary School. Then I went to the Catholic school system, and right now I live like on Shawham Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Have you always lived in Philly?
Yep.
Oh,
born
cool.
and raised, like I said. Yeah.
Wow, you did say that.
It's funny because whenever I go to shows, I play this game where everyone's like, "Yo, so when did you move to Philly?" And I'll be like, "I've always been here."
You just still look at me like, when did you move to Philly?
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me to be like in the late 80s.
Yeah, like I mean, I've been away like for school and stuff. But other than that,
No, that's funny. It's we're becoming. I guess it depends which part of Philadelphia you're in, but like, there's so many more transplants now than there were. I mean, I distinguish myself away from the later transplants because I've been here almost 15 years.
True.
So like I don't. Whenever someone writes an article bemoaning the new Philadelphians with a capital N, I'm just like, nope, not me. Too old.
yeah,
because we've been here for like 15 years.
Exactly.
But I mean, 15 years ago, this was not a destination. Like no one decided to move here in like 03 and 02. Like it was still like downtown was still kind of
half the neighborhoods that people consider like the place to be, it's still weird to me.
Yeah.
Like
my parents lived here.
I still remember the stuff or like things that I've seen.
Yeah. Oh gosh, just I moved here in 03 or 04.
Okay.
And we had the band I was in. We recorded one of our first records in an apartment at like 45th and Sansom. And this was in 2006 or 7.
Okay.
And I remember
before Clark Park became Starbucks.
Yeah,
it looks like an outdoor Starbucks.
Well, I mean, and they used to, and friends used to live at 43rd and Osage, like again back in like 2003, 2004, where it was fine, like it wasn't bad, but it was just like you might just want to not do some things.
Sure.
So you grew up in Northwest, pretty much.
Yeah,
like,
I was always in
like Germantown, Northwest.
Germantown, Mount Airy, West Oak Lane.
Yeah. What drew you to music at a young age?
So I started liking music and realizing I had like an affinity for it when I was around 5 or 6 years old, because my grandfather played guitar and all of his brothers also played. And my grandfather, he raised me, and he's from the South. And I remember a specific family reunion where my uncle was playing like Delta Slide blues and like dancing, and like he was like playing all like the greats, like Elvis to like, you know, Chuck Berry, like all that stuff. And I really got into it, and I was raised on Motown and blues and funk and things like that. James Brown, Marvin Gaye.
And all the Philadelphia stuff too,
Yep, that too. And I didn't really get to play till I was 18. So on my 18th birthday, I bought a guitar.
What was it?
It was just like $100 Fender acoustic.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's what like got me into it. And like I had a lot of friends in high school that played. Some of them actually turned out to like be some like Philadelphia like names, like for example Matt Kelly from Toy Soldiers went to high school with me.
I know Matt.
We worked on a laundromat together. Ben Runyon from City Rain. He used to bully me. That's actually a fact.
Does he still, or have you guys gotten over that?
No, we're over it. Marley McNamara went to my elementary school.
I know that name from.
She manages the districts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I read an article on her not long ago. I want to have her on the show. She sounds really interesting.
I mean, like, we're not like homies or anything.
Well, no,
like
but these are people that you, I mean, everyone I went to high school with does not, I moved away from. So like for you, it's like everyone you went to high school with, if they didn't move away, they're
probably in the music scene or
they're
something.
They're still kicking around. Yeah.
So, I feel like in some ways it's been around me, and then it didn't take till I was 18 till I picked up the guitar. Yeah. And then take me till 20 until I like started really singing in front of people and stuff like that. So yeah.
Were you like writing songs for yourself? Like,
well, I've been writing songs / poems since I was 11. My first song that I could remember right now was a Pokemon rap about the Pokemon Marill, and Marill was like the first Pokemon after the 150. and it just like was one line, or was like, "It's for real, it's more real," and it just kept going on like that. And
it's very appropriate now too, as things kind of come back.
Yeah, it's weird.
Come
I'm not gonna lie, I played Pokemon on my way here.
Are there any stops down around here? Are there any? Are there any Pokemon down here?
There's a very healthy amount of Tangela and Bulbasaur around here.
Okay.
A lot of grass types. So yeah,
a lot of grass types.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's funny. I completely missed Pokemon. By the time Pokemon was a thing, I think I was just starting college.
Oh, okay.
So, because that was the late '90s or something.
Yeah,
like, at least
I was in middle school.
Yeah, when it broke in America. So like, as I walk around, I was like, and people are like getting into it, I was just like, it wasn't even for me the first time.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what you all are talking about.
Yeah, no, I understand that. No, it's completely understandable.
But yeah, so you're even at a young age writing songs about Pokemon and the various things that 11-year-olds would write songs about.
Yeah, like I wrote a song called like "Your Eyes, the Golden Sun," and that was like about this girl named Tatiana that I liked in like 6th grade. It didn't work out. But like, we're still Facebook friends.
That's good. I'm Facebook friends with people in high school. I'm just like, I don't even know
why.
What is this?
Yeah.
When you move into your 30s, you just start getting rid of them, not out of any malice. You just like my life. Just I don't need this.
No, I hear you. Yeah. I mean,
I am still friends with a good number of my high school friends, but
it's funny you say that because like I kind of went through a Facebook purge because I was like, why do I have 3,000 Facebook friends?
Oh my gosh.
And I deleted like 300 because it was either our relationship's over, not out of anything negative. It was just like there's nothing there anymore.
We're done. Yeah.
Or like you talk about the same thing every day and it's killing my brain. And then I noticed like people started adding me back and I was like, why? So I just gave up.
It's like Pokemon. You got to have. It's the collecting of things.
Exactly.
The collecting of people where it's like, or the collecting of access to people or looking at people's things.
Exactly.
Even whether you care or want to or not, just be like, wow. And it's probably the social thing. It's just like, if I'm not friends with them, but everyone else is friends with them.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
You gonna call me up? We gonna hang out?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
I'm always down for a turkey sandwich. So that's all I was about to say.
I don't hang out with anybody anymore.
Yeah,
even people who live in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I completely hear that.
It's very hard. I was trying to think of this. I was this thing I was gonna write on the page about because I was thinking about. Abby and like other musician people that I've met through the show that I didn't really know that well that now I know a little better, and they'll invite me to shows, not just put me on Facebook invites, but like actually invite me, like put a line out to me personally, and very rarely do I go. I just kind of want to put this note out to all the artists, and they'll hear this. It's like all the artists who've been on the show. I love you. I respect you. I love what you do. I just it's very difficult for me to leave the house.
I could imagine that. I mean, even coming from Northwest Philadelphia. Yeah. Like there was definitely a phase in my like time in the scene, so to speak, where you'd see me at a show at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And now and then keep in mind I was working with a day job plus music.
Yeah.
And I realized I was like splitting myself thin. I wasn't getting my own stuff done.
Yeah.
And I can completely understand how it could be exhausting.
Oh, it is exhausting. And the years in the band when I was home or when I was not like fully engaged in band mode, well, also still again having a full-time job and all that. The last place I wanted to go out to was a club, and the last thing I wanted to do was listen to over-amplified music and pay for my own drinks. I didn't want to do any of those things.
Exactly. No, it's like everything but the one thing you're there for.
Oh, absolutely. My phrase for touring and playing a band was that I always said, I'm like, I like the 40 minutes. I'm like,
I like that.
I like the 40 minutes. I'm like, everything leading up to the 40 minutes, I don't really care for it. Everything after the 40 minutes, I don't really care for it. But those 40 minutes, well, a little bit after the 40 minutes. I liked the hour or so after the 40 minutes. You meet people, hang out, and you're still kind of coming off the buzz of playing. But then, like, it's 1 a.m. and you're just like, can we just freaking get paid?
Yeah.
So we can go sleep on the floor of someone that we don't know so we can get up and do this all over again.
Yep.
Like, and it got old. And it just got old.
No, I can understand that.
Yeah. But you're young, so it's not old yet. Like
no.
it's super fun. It's incredibly fun. I always have to come on the other side of that and be like, but it's great. But I hate it.
No, I understand.
But I grew to hate it. I didn't hate it at first.
Sure.
So we're off. So you're growing up in Northwest Philly. and music is still definitely part of your life. So your grandfather is very musical.
Yeah.
And sounds like the whole family very, very musical people.
Yes and no. I mean, like,
at least like music listeners, music appreciators.
Yeah. Like, my uncle, he's a hip hop producer who lives in Georgia. Then I have another uncle who plays the bass. And then all my cousins, they're all rappers.
Yeah.
And I'm like the only rock musician in my family that I know of. So yeah.
So like you're the outlier
I am.
Yeah.
However, like I haven't done this yet with my family members, but even though like I write like rock music, so to speak, you know, with like punk and emo influences and things like that, I know like a whole lot of blues, funk, and like hip hop.
Yeah.
And like I'm collaborating with like a DJ right now. So probably in a few months, more likely next year, you'll probably see like a different side to my like creativity.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that'll be fun.
Gotcha. That's what would be expected of you is to like be a hip hop musician or an R&B singer or jazz or blues or something like that. I was having a conversation with these guys. A lot of guys that we have this little record club community. We used to actually meet. It was like book club, except that we met except it was about records. And I said something, I think a year ago, where I said, you know, it's funny for white people to delve into black music, it gives us cred. Like we get to go, like you can go super, at least for me, be like, oh, you know, that was my reggae period. That was my you know, deep Delta blues period. But for African American musicians to go the other way, it doesn't quite work the same way. And I've been blessed to have African American friends of all musical styles, of the more what would be expected, and then guys who are into metal and guys who are into punk, and all that. And I always ask them, I said, like, and then I read some of your writing, so I always asked them, I said, like, is it just even harder to do this? They're like, dude, you have no idea.
Yeah, it totally is. Because I will say, not even just in Philadelphia, but there aren't very many black musicians that are doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And then if there is a black musician and you kind of like talk to them, it's either A, they smile at you like, oh, I'm supposed to be the only one.
Oh, okay.
Versus, hey, let's support each other. Yeah. So it's kind of almost like in the same way that like feminists say like, don't support girl hate. Like I guess you could say like, don't support black hate, so to speak. Like I know that sounds cheesy, but what I mean by that is like, whenever I see another black musician, except for like a few people here and there, that is also playing rock music, I don't feel like a mutual support because we realize we're having the same struggle. Gotcha. You know, and that's what I meant by like, don't support black hate.
Oh, gotcha. Don't like, if someone thinks that like, well, this is my personal sort of thing right here, and why are you getting in on this thing that might make me different? Yeah. But in the end, I was thinking about it too, because I read your piece that you wrote on your blog, and then I read the article that you had also written for that other online publication that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, Global Creativity Magazine.
That's the one, yeah. But I read that, and then I posted it up on my Record Club blog as well, amongst my friends, because it's a mixed bag. There's all kinds of different people, and we do talk about that stuff from time to time. And actually, I haven't gone on. I was hoping that a lot of guys would get under it, and then it would help give me fuel for what we were going to talk about today. But I think I can do pretty well on my own. I read it. Number one, I just found it incredibly eloquent. It was a great piece, and it really, as best as I can say, like I've noticed that just from having been part of the DIY scene myself, is that it's an incredibly whitewashed thing. Punk rock, I mean, originally what it was formed for was for everybody. Correct. And there are elements of that when you kind of go back into proto-punk that, like, you know, like the early CBGB scenes was everybody, white, black, gay, straight, women, like it was kind of a mixing, because it was the Bowery, and anyone who ventured down there to begin with, like, you kind of had something in common. And then it slowly, as these artist things, as these genres slowly get more popular, they become more homogenized, more heteronormative, and more whitewashed. So as I read your piece, it kind of just you gave words to a lot of things that I have constantly thought over the years, which is just like, well, this is all fine and good, but this seems like a very limited set of experiences that we could be having right here. I guess like in the time, well, you wrote it a month ago, but I was going to say in the time since you wrote it, has it gotten better? But it's only been a month.
I mean, since I've written it, it's been interesting. First, according to my Google Analytics, 14,000 people read it.
Oh, that's good.
Across the world, which is like definitely different for me.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Second thing, like, I feel like, I mean, first I want to say like why I wrote it. I want to speak about that.
Oh,
before
definitely.
I talk about like what has happened
got time,
ever
man.
since. Yeah, I wrote it because I was in this conversation with a friend of mine, and she talked to me about like, how do you feel about Black Lives Matter and the DIY community? And I was like, honestly, the DIY community could say that Black Lives Matter and hashtag all they want on the internet, but do they really care about Black lives? Because I think Black Lives Matter is so much more than discussing white policemen shooting black people. And even if you look in the about section of the website, it's so much more than that.
Yeah, that's more of the extreme end.
Exactly.
The most extreme thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought even more critically about the DIY scene. And I thought about Black Lives Matter. And I said, like, honestly, I don't think Black Lives Matter is about perpetuating white guilt. It's more about trying to understand what the black experience is and how can we as a whole systematically alleviate that stress and pain. So then I said, as a musician, I could either take two paths: write about every single problem I've had as a black person, or talk about my problems as a black musician. And I thought, if I talk about my problems as a black person, I might end up writing a book. To be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
So
and there's a lot of shared experience.
there's so much more to say than what I've already said.
For young black men,
Yeah.
it all, from everyone that I've talked to, they all have their own personal version of a very similar story of just being young black men. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a doctor or a musician.
Exactly. And like, one black story is not all black stories.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
a lot of times people tend to do that with like minority groups. Like they read one story and then generalize it to every experience.
Yeah, and the women's movement too and all this stuff. Like, definitely, yeah.
So I thought,
agree.
like, you know, I have somewhat of a following. People do listen to me as a musician. I think it might have been helpful for me to write about my experiences since gigging in, like, my first gigs ever were in bars and coffee shops.
Yeah.
And how DIY has helped me, but at the same time, it's kind of like made me feel confused about, like, do I even belong here, you know? So I kind of like wrote it for that intent, to really just share that and kind of get it off my chest, and also kind of just like to say, like, I wonder if any other people feel this way. Lo and behold, a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
So what's happened since is, like, some people have inboxed me. A lot of people have commented, mostly positive, nothing negative at all.
That's good.
I've gone to shows and people are like, "Oh, I read your stuff. Like, yo, really good happenings." But one PR company from England reached out to me. Nothing came of it.
Yeah. That's
But-
interesting, though, that a PR company from England would reach out to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it that's happened. I mean, so far since booking shows for this new album, I haven't really like said, "Hey, I'm the guy that wrote this article."
Yeah,
because that's like, that'd be weird, you know.
They're supposed to know about the article. You're not supposed to tell
Yeah,
them.
that's like
You're not supposed to tell them how cool you are.
Yeah, that's not like my pitch. And like, so far in like a lot of interviews about this record, people have like asked me about the article.
Yeah.
So-
And I hate to make it as much about the article, but I did find it very, I find it very
there's no
well
issue with
written.
that.
Yeah, I found it incredibly well written, and really did, it really did set this other conversation that I think should be had in the art community. In that, I've thought this for years, just from being fortunate enough to live in a city like this with a lot of diversity and to play. Gosh, in my early days, we would play any room that would have us. Like, it didn't matter who was on the bill, what kind of music it was. And so you play a lot of sort of like open art nights and stuff like that, where there's poetry readings and hip hop, and some guy might be spinning, and there's a jazz band, and then there's, 4 white kids playing indie rock. But and I'm not saying it was this, amazing race-free utopia, but, it seemed pretty inclusive. Everyone was pretty into everyone's everything. But you made a very interesting point for like the punk scene, for the DIY punk scene. the house show scene, all that, which is incredibly white.
Yeah,
from its
like,
inception.
Granted, I didn't really get too explicit about it in the article. Like when I made like the frat boy references,
Yeah.
I think I'm validated in saying that because like I wasn't a frat. That might take away all punk credibility I have, but no, seriously, like I was, and like I'll be honest with you, I've had safer times in fraternities than I've had at punk houses, and I think there's something that should be known and aware about that, because like a lot of these punk houses, the people running them thinking like this is alternative to like the bros because we're better than the bros. I'm like, actually, no, dude.
No, you're not.
Yeah, like
You're the same.
you're no different at all. Like
at least with the bros, they wear it on their sleeves and in their like you can see them coming.
Exactly.
Whereas when a punk comes, you think like, oh, this might be an open mind. Oh no.
Yeah. So it's definitely something like to think about. So like that's kind of like what I wanted to share, because ideally, like I think in punk and underground communities, if we're going to develop a safe space, we need to like share the dialogue and act on that from like every social problem possible.
Absolutely.
That's relevant to the scene, because there's definitely social problems that aren't relevant to certain scenes.
No, and punk itself it's such a strange genre because it itself is not a musical aesthetic genre. At least that's not how I understand it. And I often use the example I've used on the show before, where like in the very early 80s in Los Angeles, the punk scene, the three biggest punk bands in Los Angeles were X, Wall of Voodoo, and the Go-Go's. That was punk. Flash forward to now, where it's this cookie cutter, almost dress up thing.
Yeah.
And I used to sit there and think to myself, I'm like, you gonna dress up punk? You gonna play punk?
True.
Because to me, punk has nothing to do with the sound of the guitars, the volume of it, how the drums go, or like the style of the lyrics. Punk is an artistic spirit and a literally doing whatever you want. I don't know what happened in the last 30 years or 40 years to put it where it is right now, but and I imagine to be a young black man and to enter these spaces, which on the surface seem to be very liberal leaning, cool, educated, down people who like seem to be into everything, and still to kind of to hit that invisible wall and just be like, oh, you're not really down with everything. You just want to seem like you're down.
Exactly. And like, I'll be real with you. Like, in some ways it's discouraging, and in some ways I get scared. Like, I say it's discouraging because you read and you go on like DoDIY.org and you read these like phrases like, we want POC only shows, and it's like, man, you might as well tell me what water I can drink. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds heavy, but
no, but that's absolutely true. It's like this ghettoization thing, and I don't mean ghetto necessarily in the way that we use ghetto now in a hip hop sense, but like the literal ghettoization, which was to create a whole separate district for X, for whatever throughout history, whatever that is.
For starters, I hate the word POC because to me that's just a neoconservative way of calling me colored. You know, and I don't think anyone thinks like that. And like, if you talk to like an older black person, like my grandparents, they would hate that. You know what I mean? You got to think to yourself, I was raised by my grandparents, and they're coming from a society where like my grandfather saw KKK dudes in hoods like as a child, and like went to Morehouse and like saw people get lynched, like things like that. So like, making such light of things like that literally hurts me, you know? Secondly, like what like kind of offends me about the scene and is like very discouraging is when you just hear people casually think they're being active by using that term and using that terminology. And then frequently they'll think about, well, my one only black friend said this, so therefore I can make this statement about all black people and my feelings about black people. But they won't engage with black people. They won't sit at a lunch table with a black person. They won't like go to the bus and have a conversation with a black person. So that's like kind of makes me think like, whether you're in the scene or out of the scene, do you really care about black people to begin with? The other reason why it's like kind of demotivating, which doesn't even have to do with race so much, is because I want to play music to tell a story and for the love and joy of playing music. And I think there's way too much overlap in relationships in the scene to a point where it's like you're in high school again. And I don't know about you, but I hated high school. because there was just too much information being shared.
Yeah.
There was too much.
Yeah, you went to high school in like during you had social media when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thankfully did not.
MySpace was a thing.
Yeah. I thankfully none of that stuff really hit until like I just like Facebook and MySpace were just becoming a thing as I was leaving high school.
Correct.
But not to a point where everyone had access to it because nobody had fast internet, like wireless internet and all that was not a thing.
True.
But I have thought about that from time to time about like, because I have, younger cousins and stuff like that who are going to high school and college now. And I'm just thinking like, I can't imagine how hard it would be now where not only do you have to, if you're someone who has to sort of put up with a bunch of crap in
literally,
high school,
yeah.
like to then go home and literally have that crap follow you on your phone, on your computer,
it's buzzing on you and everything.
Yeah. And you're just like, what? Like, at least for me, like I could go home or I could get with my friends and we could go in the basement or the garage and play guitars and like, have a closed little circuit thing, at least for a period of time before we had to go back into the Shark Tank again, which is how I often think about it. And I came out of it okay. I think some people came out got hit way worse. I got the usual, I was a dude who didn't play sports and dressed a certain way and had long hair and was into art and theater and music. Yeah. And so, I was called the things that I was called, but I don't think the people who call me those things even truly understood what those things meant. But I still consider myself to have come out pretty unscathed. So,
yeah.
But I totally get it. When you get into the scene, when you get older and you like join, especially for you to have kind of come out of high school, to already kind of be an oddball, to be a young black man into indie rock, which is predominantly white music genre, and then to find a scene, finally to be old enough to engage with that scene and be like, I'm gonna be part of this, and to hit that wall and just be like, oh, like
you're no different than the kids that bullied me. Yeah.
You're no different than someone running down the street yelling the worst. Well, I mean, hopefully you're somewhat different than someone yelling awful names or the stuff that your grandparents put up with. But in the end, it's not that different.
No.
In fact, the quiet stuff and the unspoken stuff is usually way worse than the blatant stuff. Even though the blatant stuff is violent and destructive, at least you can see it coming.
True.
Whereas to play a show and everyone just kind of look at you like you're this strange sort of specimen. It's like, oh, he plays the guitar and sings like we do. It's like, well, of course he does. He's a human being.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, this whole thing doesn't have to be all about the article, but like I found it fascinating.
Oh, no problem.
Really lent a lot of clarity to the way I've thought about stuff, and just never quite, because it's not my experience, but it's something I've thought about when I try to put myself in other people's shoes, because I've played with enough black people, Asian people, all different, who play, in a more predominantly white style of genre.
True.
And to think like, I wonder what that's like for them, especially, I always think especially for young black men. Women seem to get a bit more of a pass one way or the other, but I can't imagine it's much easier for them at all.
I will say this. Women have it really hard, but one thing women have that black men don't have is a support group. That's just like...
How do you mean support group?
For example, there, at least locally speaking, there are more female songwriters that will support each other and willingly support each other through their problems.
Yeah.
Whereas me, a black man... Who do I have?
Like you said, all your cousins were rappers. Like the other rappers would look at you and be like, "Well, why aren't you
spitting bars on Broad Street?
Because that's not what I do."
Like exactly, but like I'm serious. Like the only reason I was quiet is because I really don't have anyone. You know? So
well, shit, man, we got to find you some people.
I hope I find somebody. I mean, like I have a support group and friends. I definitely have
like
that.
A human support group.
But in terms of like support groups of people that are like me.
Like artists and musicians and
yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like what you said at the start of the conversation too is like, can we even really name that many African American artists that like, and my first thought was, I'm like, well, TV on the radio, and then I stop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I swear there's others besides TV on the radio.
And the thing is, locally, whenever I do try to reach out, it's kind of like I don't get a mutual desire. It's like I'm looked at like I'm crazy. And I'm like, I personally think in the DIY scene, we need a mutual support that's objective and not so subjective based on friends. I mean, yeah, friendships are going to overlap.
Yeah.
But if we really are friendly, if we really are caring, if we really are about art, and we're really into this together, then support somebody, give someone constructive feedback, things like that.
And if it's good art, it's good art. It doesn't matter what what the person looks like. Is the song good? Can they get on stage? Can they convey it well? Am I engaged? Are they engaging? And am I engaged when they're on stage? It's hard enough to do all those things. Like just to hit all those points, regardless of race or color, even coming into it, is hard enough.
No, it is.
And then to like bring in the other thing, it's just like, really? Like if they can do all the other things, then like
why should everything else
don't
matter?
care.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that sometimes that sounds dismissive, but like it's just me just being so tired of having to like use things like, like black female songwriter, female songwriter,
female fronted band.
Female
like that's a
fronted
terrible
band.
thing to say.
It's like, I was just on the internet yelling yesterday, probably, like I do many days. No, a friend of mine, a Boston area musician, was talking about how she was the point of contact for club booking. And she tours regularly. She's doing quite well. I'll tell you who she is off mic. But in the end, it's very hard to do it ourselves in general. So the fact that anyone is even out there trying, like, you should give them the benefit of the doubt, because you have to be insane to even attempt this to begin with, regardless. And there are times when I will look at the few African American men that I've seen delve into like rock music, folk music, or whatever, and think like, we all had to be kind of crazy, but you, like, wow, you must really want this. Like, this must be even more your thing than a lot of the other singer-songwriters I know who are going to kind of cycle through the scene at one point. It's their 2 to 3 years of, hey, remember that time I was a singer-songwriter and now I got a real job. Like,
yeah, and that's probably even the more discouraging thing outside of my race is like seeing bands that like down from the gear they have to the opportunities they've had. It's almost like they're not taking pride in it, like,
well, they're not gracious,
they're not grateful.
They're not there's no grace involved, where you just realize, like, at some point, just the fact that you can even play a show and maybe get paid a couple bucks and your friends come, like, that's huge. Like, you won right there.
And like I see some bands like that are on stage that are drunk out of their mind and just like, hey, we're this band and these are my friends and this is the thing, and I almost go like, wow, you're just disrespectful. Yeah,
you're disrespectful to your audience. You're disrespectful, not only disrespectful to your audience who've very likely paid money to see you. Maybe they're paid money to see someone else and you're there too, but like, I don't know. People have taken time, like, have gotten dressed up, have gotten babysitters maybe, are like staying out late even though they got to go to work the next morning.
Yeah.
You should have some respect for the fact that, like, everyone's here, so let's try and make this, it doesn't have to be the greatest night of everyone's life, but like, let's try to make this super enjoyable.
Yeah.
I absolutely feel that way, where people get on stage and I'm just like, well, you can't even keep it together. Like,
exactly.
And I don't know if it's like an ironic detachment. I mean, I'm of the generation where it became very cool to not care.
I think it's almost worse for people my age and younger. It's like everyone, it's like this weird thing. I could tell inside you want to care. You want people to be your friend. You want people to love you. You want to have attachment.
Because everybody does. It's human nature.
But then you do everything in your power to like ignore the fact that like someone cares about you, someone's listening to you. Like, I legitimately see Facebook statuses where they're like, someone called me beautiful, that's ugly, like, how dare them. And then 5 minutes later, won't someone call me beautiful? Or, I hate that someone sent me a message to say that they like my music, won't somebody listen to my music? Like, I could go on for days and it's like, it's weird, it's really weird. I don't get it.
It sounds like crazy talk.
Yeah, because like, when someone says that, like, hey, I like what you're putting out there, I like what you're listening to, I don't screenshot that and embarrass them.
No,
I say
like,
thank
people
you.
would like screenshot someone who like reaches out like in a moment of honesty and says like, hey, I like your work, I like the thing that you do, or whatever. And then like someone would then screenshot that and like take a dig at them
and ridicule them. Yeah, and that's the sort of world we live in.
I do not. Okay, I understand a lot of things about human nature. I feel like I'm a good student of human beings at the 35 years of my life. But like, what is that?
I don't get it. Now, I understand. Now, on the same token, I understand people that harass people after like appreciating them. Now the harassment's another problem, you know, and like what I mean by that is
like people would harass people for appreciating them, or
I'll get into it.
Yeah.
So like there's an artist I know from Chicago, and someone said like, yo man, I really wish you put more guitar in that one beat. And then he never replied. And then he was like, well, screw you then, and a bunch of other expletives.
Yeah.
Now that, I think, on the other side, not the artist.
Oh, yeah.
That's entitlement. And it's like, you can't tell someone how to write their own song.
Go write your own song.
Yeah, exactly.
Go put more guitars on your own beat.
Or like, I know a lot of girls get harassed, like saying like, you know, you're only getting known because you're a girl or because you're pretty. Like, that's also harassment that like no one deserves. But, and I almost feel like that sort of harassment is what like causes that sort of blanket apathy and like burnout.
Yeah.
So like, I guess in the end of the day, we have a very disconnected society that's overly connected. That's like kind of
absolutely.
my belief.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I don't understand that. Like, it's so hard to get people to care.
Mm-hmm.
And then when people do care, to say like, I don't care about people caring. Anyone who says I don't care what people think about me, that's a lie. That's like the biggest lie perpetuated in human nature. And especially if you're an artist, because you have, or like a musician, like a songwriter, or anyone in a band, because you have chosen to spend some of your free time going up on stage, essentially saying without saying, "Hey, everybody, look at me."
Mm-hmm.
And then when they do look at you, to be like, "Oh, don't look at me. Look at me, don't look at me." Like, it's like, what? And I understand that dynamic can be interesting sometimes, and that does sort of spur on the artistic spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people who are moved to express themselves, yet also, but very shy. Like, I understand that sort of, that opposition within a person.
Mm-hmm.
I have it myself to a point. But if you're going to go through if you're going to go through all of it, and for someone to finally and someone to reach out to me like, "Hey, I appreciate that," and for you to be like, "Yeah, well, you're dumb. You're dumb for liking me,"
which is weird. Like, I think that's like the meanest thing you could do to someone that appreciates anything about you.
It's like when you would finish a show, and I used to have this in my band sometimes. You'd finish a show, and someone would like say like, "Hey, it's a great set," and you very well could think that it was the worst set you've ever played in your life. But I learned very quickly, it's like, you don't. It's not. This is not when you have that conversation.
Yeah.
If someone says like, you played a great set, I'm like, "Hey man, thanks for coming out."
Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like going to a Chinese restaurant or any restaurant, it doesn't even have to be Chinese, and enjoying the food, and the chef comes out and smacks you in the face with his like spatula and goes, "That was the worst chicken I ever made."
Yeah.
Like, don't be the chef that slaps the person with a spatula. That's just like dumb.
No, let's not do that.
People are definitely going to tweet that. But anyway, it's like,
don't
seriously,
slap people with this.
Like, I don't know. I don't get that.
No, I don't either.
And I think the biggest reason why I don't get that is because when I started playing music, I spent so long on my voice after years of people telling me, like, you should never sing in your life or don't ever write songs.
Yeah.
And it took years for people to say, I actually like what you're putting out. So anytime someone says something good to me, anytime someone like takes the time to review me or interview me, like even this podcast, I think it's a blessing. And like, I think that gratitude needs to be like reinitiated.
Well, because it's work.
Exactly.
It's work to be good at it.
Yeah.
You don't just fall out of bed, and no one, even the people who make it look so effortless, you don't just fall out of bed able to write a great song. You had to write 50 bad songs before you could like really learn to write your good ones.
Yep.
There's a work element that I think in art so often we want. It's not that we don't. No, we don't want to acknowledge it. We know we have to do it. Like, you know, like you and I both know that to get better at guitar, we have to sit and play the guitar every day for an hour, a couple of hours, and you just have to keep working at it, even when it seems like you're not getting anywhere. That's work. That's the definition of work right there. But I think that there is there's a tendency in art to portray it as being effortless. This eureka in the bathtub moment where everything is just divine inspiration, and it just came to me. Where it's like, no, I rewrote that song 15 times.
Yeah, I wrote 63 songs for this upcoming record, and I chose
like 12, right?
13.
13, yeah.
Well, 12 full songs, and then there's the interlude.
Yeah.
Well, I did it literally
Oral
at my
history,
house.
yeah.
I did it at my house.
Were those your grandparents on the record?
Yeah.
That was phenomenal, and it's interesting to hear, especially with such a bigger, because they're not just your parents, they're your grandparents. So
Yep.
they have that whole other generation gap right there.
Mm-hmm.
And for the things that you chose to talk about with them on the record, I found that even more interesting, and the way that you built it in with the music.
Thank you.
And all that. I was just like, well, this is really cool stuff.
Thank you.
I really dig that aspect of the record. And was that something that you had always sought to do?
The record as a whole is about like trying to find peace with things you cannot deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like solace, the word means like finding comfort in your own suffering. And
I didn't know
24.
that's what it meant.
Yeah, that's what the word means.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's deep and poetic.
and 2014, more so 2015, were like very hard years for me. And when I was recording my grandfather, that was actually 2 months before he died.
Oh.
And he had lung cancer in those recordings. He died of lung cancer and brain cancer, and like a failed lungs from pneumonia. So it was like the combination of all three of those things. And the songs that he's like featured in, which is two specific songs. One is just pretty much about the fact that my whole 27 years of life, I've lived way too fast. Like I've done things so like with instant gratification. Like for example, like I drank my life away for 10 years. I used to wake up in bedrooms with people that I didn't really know, if you get what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done like a lot of random drugs, and like it's kind of like, in my opinion, a miracle that I'm still alive, and it's also a miracle that like I got to where I am. Like I have a master's degree and things like that, and like I did really, really well in school, and like I'm a published author, but I didn't do it with a clear mind.
Yeah, and there are probably gaps throughout that where like you don't necessarily remember doing certain things.
Correct. Or like
that you can read later and be like, wow, I bet you that was fun to do.
Yeah, or like even felt like just
Yeah.
the aspect of feeling and enjoying myself as a human. So like I had conversations like that with my grandfather about that record, or like the first song on the record is really just about this like kind of like point the finger judgmental neo McCarthyist society. So given the fact that my grandpa was born in 1939, like the height of McCarthyism,
Yeah.
and like saw that Cold War era type of lifestyle happen, I wanted to talk to him about that. So I took like some quotes from there. Now, like with my grandmother, on the other hand, she grew up in Philadelphia her whole life, so she never like lived anywhere else except for this area. So I wanted to talk to her about like racism and
Yeah.
So,
She talks about on there about how, and it's funny for her to even put it in the perspective where she's like, I've obviously experienced these things, but it was not nearly as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
As things that she knew other people experienced, which is a remarkable way to sort of compartmentalize coming up in that era. And Philadelphia, I guess what I'm saying is just because the city was above the Mason-Dixon was technically part of the North, it doesn't mean that it was necessarily this amazing haven for anyone. Really.
Yeah, I mean, this city still is relatively segregated.
Yeah.
so.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Northwest. I mean, when you said you were Northwest, my first thought was like, wow, I know nothing about up there except certain parts of Germantown that friends of mine have bought houses in.
And
Like,
Germantown alone split in half, like socioeconomically. And racially.
or Mount Airy or anything like that, East Mount Airy, West Mount Airy, and all that. Yeah, and then even moving it like Manioc, Roxborough, and all that. Norristown, as you get even farther out. Yeah, no, definitely, and even the city itself. North, northwest, west, and south, a little more mixed. South, I mean, the part that we're in right now, you can't get much whiter in south.
Yeah.
Over here. When I moved down into here, I looked around. I was just like, oh wow. I said, I'm like, what is this? 1972? Like, and and this is still a great place to live down here.
Yeah.
I like it down here, but I definitely acknowledge, as a city, a lot of attitudes that still exist. But I think you would get that anywhere in this country.
I used to live in New York for 2 years. I lived in Long Island, but even in Long Island, like I lived in Hempstead, and what's kind of funny / sad is when I was in Hempstead, people would always give me a look like, you better be a student, because if you're not, you're not safe.
Gosh.
I was like, whoa. Like, because Hempstead is like, trivial fact, it's like where Flavor Flav's from.
Yeah.
That's where he like found his crack addiction. So just put some insight what type of neighborhood Hempstead is,
Yeah. What did you study when you went out to school in Long Island?
So I actually went to Penn State first.
Okay.
And I got a degree in psychology with like a concentration in business. And then I went to Hofstra University and got my master's in IO psychology, which is the study of, you know, the workplace from a psychological perspective.
Oh, interesting.
So like my long term goal would be to be a successful musician and then use a lot of those experiences to become an executive coach for small businesses, entertainment organizations, and musicians. So yeah,
that's a good goal right there. Going back to what you said before, that you spent a good chunk of your life sort of living to excess.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of us who've done that at one point or another. But what was, I mean, and you don't have to get specific or anything, but what was it that kind of brought you back where you were just like, this is too much? Because for you to be so young, and I just mean like, you're not a kid, but like to kind of kick that in the butt before you're 30 is pretty impressive.
Thank you.
I've seen it go further, and it gets, trust me, it just gets worse and harder as you just sort of maintain these behaviors. I guess what was the general mindset that kind of brought you back, or to at least have the knowledge of what was happening around you to be like, this is clearly too far?
It was a culmination of things. Like it was physical. Like it got to the point where like I take a shot of whiskey and like my heart would flutter in like really weird ways.
Yeah.
I realized that like I've never had a girlfriend in my life. I mean, I had one, but she like was terrible, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Like she told me to go kill myself when I was crying over my great grandmother dying. Like, yeah, I can't really deal with that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
sound
like a positive, loving relationship at all.
I never had healthy relationships with people, not just girls, like just in general. And like I realized everything about my life was surrounded around like fast-paced, unhealthy decisions, you know? And I realized that like I was very, very hard on myself, and I wanted to give myself a chance to live, a chance to enjoy myself. Like tonight I'm going to a show by myself, and you know what? I think I deserve to take myself on a date. You know what I mean? So like it kind of was just like, how could I consider myself like this songwriter talking about like problems with society, problems with the self, and I'm becoming my own worst enemy, and I don't know if I'll even be able to have the chance to write that story if I drinking and working and living in like a very fast-paced lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like was like my waking moment.
Yeah. And there's not to get too psychological and this stuff, because I of course am not a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
But like definitely when you live like that, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And very often it's just one giant avoidance mechanism for whatever you think is broken in you. Like that definitely points in my life where I move like that, being like, if I just keep going this fast, when I do slam, it wasn't even an if, I'm like, when I do slam into that brick wall, I won't even know. Like when I've talked to people who've been in various stages of recovery or something like that, they'll be like, I don't even know that person anymore. And I'm just like, my God, I'm like, I can't ever not know that person.
Yeah, you have to remember.
Yeah. I never remember. I'm like, that person is me. Like, just a different version of me.
Exactly.
But I find it very interesting that at a younger age, able to sort of just get it together.
And I mean,
whatever that means.
Exactly. Like I realized that like not even just the scene, just in life, there was a number of situations where I was like, wow, maybe I really don't have real friends, and maybe no one really cares. Because like, for example, you know the Piazza?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I remember one time I got my car towed there, right? And I didn't even know that like towed cars anymore. I was like, wait, when did this become a thing? Because that lot was 24/7.
Oh, the old yeah.
And like,
welcome to gentrification. Everything costs money.
And I went down through my phone and I called some people to like help me out with like
someone come get me or
get my car, and like no one could help me get my car, and like. And I realized, like, in the end of the day, it was my fault because I, like, drank and, like, I woke up in a bedroom that I shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just like, wow, I have no one to rely on, you know? And
you can't even really rely on yourself at that point.
Exactly. So, like, I thought to myself, if I want to become a touring musician, regardless of whether I have a band or not, I need to learn how to rely on myself before I have people want to rely on me. And vice versa.
Wow, that's a remarkable sort of way to frame it, because you wanted to do the thing so much that you're just like, wow, I'm not going to be able to do this thing if I don't get it together.
And I guess like the next couple of months are like kind of a challenge because except for like one show, I'm going to be touring mostly by myself. Like I'm going on a tour with like Liz DeLise. But like after that, like I'm on the road in a mega bus by myself.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of like I'm a Pokemon traveler, but there's no Ash and Brock, you know.
Yeah.
It's just me and a guitar. So.
Yeah. No, that'll be you'll come back from that stronger, not just as a player, but like once you kind of crush that first couple of times out on the road, that becomes less scary. You realize all the things that you did wrong, just from a logistical standpoint.
True.
And you go and you will not correct all those things the next time or the next 10 times.
Exactly.
But you'll correct maybe one of those things each time. And as you kind of keep moving through that, you'll just get, if you keep going at it, you will get better.
On that DC run, I'll be doing DC, then Baltimore the next day. It's at a venue called Asian Taste, which is also a restaurant. And then I'll be playing in Richmond, Virginia. The location's to be announced, but it's definitely going to be in October 1st. Then I'll be coming back to Philly October 15th at Everybody Hits for a full band show.
Yeah.
And that'll be with Curtis Cooper, Thief Stealing a Peach, and Night Windows. So
it's Ben.
Yeah,
Ben's a really good friend of
really
mine.
Good person.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine. He's been on the show a lot because he keeps doing stuff. No, that's great. I saw that too. Yeah, you were playing with Night Windows. I'm like, way to go. I was curious if you guys knew each other beforehand.
We played a few shows before in the past.
He's one of the nicest, most gracious dudes I've ever dealt with, and so unassuming. And then you hear the songs he writes, and like it kind of makes you sick because they're so good.
Yeah, they're very, very good.
And he writes so dang many of them.
Yeah. He has a massive catalog.
Oh God! In 2015, he put out a release every month.
Yeah, it was
I
nuts.
had him in March, and then he kept going.
Yeah, and then I hit the Midwest towards the end of October. Sometime early October, I may hit up New England and Boston. I'm also looking at Albany.
Yeah.
Looking at New Haven, Connecticut. So I'll be going back and forth this whole fall.
Yeah.
To like mostly the Northeast New England area. And sometimes the Midwest and South. So yeah.
That's the joy of living where we live right here, though, is that we are still pretty close to a whole lot of. You can do a lot of weekend warrior dates and still be able to like end up back in Philadelphia every few days. Is one of the reasons that I picked living here was that it was close enough to New York, but I did not have to be in New York.
True.
DC, Baltimore, you got the South, and then you're not that far. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'll be playing Pittsburgh in October too. So yeah, that'll be cool. I've played Pittsburgh twice this year, so it'll be my third time playing in Pittsburgh.
You like it over there?
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of good people there.
Yeah, I enjoy. I hated the drive, but I always liked. Once I got there, I usually liked everyone that we met.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for you, man.
Thank you.
Even having just sort of become acquainted with your tunes.
Thank you.
And the one thing that I've noticed and the way you write about just your frustrations with just being an independent artist, because they're there. I like that you're kind of vocal about them, because it is, again, it's the work. It's all part of the work. One of the reasons that I had you on the show, and sight unseen, because I don't get too many unsolicited. I get some, but like not too many. And some of them I do turn away just because I'm like, I don't know what this is. It's not that I don't know what it's like.
I hear that.
Or like I'll be like someone who comes to me and says like, I have a band. I want to be on your show, and I'm just like, okay. Not that this is some lofty place, but you're gonna have to do a little better than I have a band. But you were so organized with just having your stuff right
Thank
there,
you.
and you were and you were persistent. Is the word. You were consistent. You followed up with me like 3 different times, and that's when I'm like, oh, this guy's serious. Like this guy, like he is trying to do a thing here. And then I started to like get it, like to listen to your tunes and stuff like that. I said, oh, this is much more than just guy with guitar who's in a band. There's a whole interesting viewpoint, and there's a whole interesting story up behind it too.
Yeah, and like, at least for me personally, I think if A Day Without Love were to end, it's probably when like my life as a person is in order. Like I've officially like achieved peace, and I guess that's probably when I'm going to start singing funk songs or soul. Like I'm like not even being funny, because like because like I don't know, it's like I have so much to say, and I've already said a lot. And I think the only time that A Day Without Love as a band would stop is when like I don't have anything to say. So if that makes any sense.
No, it does. This is sort of like an airing of grievances type of thing. And when you don't have any more grievances, well, man, if you don't have any more grievances, you let me know how you got there. Do what you did.
Yeah.
No, when you don't have anything to rage against anymore, you're just like, well, I guess we'll make party music now.
Yeah, like my first like studio record, Island. I was homeless while writing most of that.
Oh, like
just Hurricane Sandy homeless.
Oh wow,
you know what I mean? So that was like really rough. The second record was like me coming out and realizing like, yes, I have been suicidal in my life. Like, you know, like dealing with that. The second record was just realizing like, hey, I'm approaching my mid-20s and I'm going to do this split with this other band that I think rocks. But these two songs are just going to be pretty much about like my detachment from relationships, you know. And then the last one was kind of just about like a corrupt society as a whole and like things that consistently bother me. And then this is now more about, this isn't just about me. This is about things outside of me and things I can't control. So and then the next one's going to be about body image, but I can't talk too much about that. But yeah.
No, that's wow. My God, you just got it all mapped out right there. And body image, especially masculinity and body image, is this whole thing that does not get talked about
exactly
nearly enough, and not in a way that it needs to, like, because it's more severe or less severe than female body image. I think that they're both poisonous enough in different ways.
Yeah, and like,
but yeah,
I was 289. That's a big reason why I stopped drinking, and I've lost 40 pounds since, and I'm trying to lose like another 40. And I kind of want to just talk about like my experiences with weight loss and trying to be safe in my own skin from a self-esteem perspective, and like from like losing weight healthily, because I'm not like on some program. I'm not like, you know, purging or anything. Like I'm just hitting the gym and learning to be healthy. So I guess I want to like just write a record about trying to find myself physically and emotionally.
Oh, okay. Like, no, that's, because people write about finding themselves emotionally and kind of taking care of your emotional health. Now, it's interesting to talk about, well, because physical health can dictates emotional health and all that stuff. It's a whole giant ball of awfulness inside of us at any given time.
I like the way you said that, ball of awfulness.
It is. I'd be very interested to hear that project when it's done.
Thank you.
Especially now that I know sort of what its point is.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Wow. Doing all kinds of different stuff. You got to be different over there. Don't you?
I guess so.
That's great. Did you want to play?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So what's the song called? You said this is the song you're going to drop tomorrow. Tomorrow. Tomorrow means nothing on this right now. This is a single that you will have dropped by the
Solace.
time. Yeah. It's called Solace.
And the record, the music video with Bob Sweeney. So yeah.
Oh, cool. And the record is also called Solace.
Yeah, so this is the title track.
All right, cool.
I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be whole. Could you find comfort at the bottom of your soul? Oh, let me live. Could you breathe in their apathy? Look at their pain and find beauty. 'Cause I can't live like you want to, and I can't live like you want me to. No, it's not easy to live a life of insecurities, slaves to the system. But who do we blame? Let at the rain and find beauty. 'Cause I can't live like you want to, and I can't live like you want me to.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And I'm impressed that you're able to play the guitar upside down. So
Oh yeah, this song is definitely in a different sound. But
no, that's great. That's great. So that's going to be on the record. That is out now, I guess, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's great. That's great, Brian. Thanks so much for staying on me, and I'm glad that I had you on. I always enjoy when I have people on that I have never met before, because a lot of the show when I started out was just friends and things like that. Because that's
how it starts.
Yeah, and so it's like kind of neat when I get people when they come to the door, and I'm just like, cool, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving me the chance.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll be together till the end of time. 25
Well, that's the show for the week. Thanks so much for checking it out. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Brian Walker, plays under the name A Day Without Love. Thank you so much, Brian, for being on the show, for having just a really great, honest, profound conversation with me. I love all the conversations I have on this show, but this one I definitely walked away from changed. I definitely was thinking about things in a different way than I normally thought about them. And that's good. That means we're growing. That means we're still alive. Those are good things. Thank you, Brian. Check out adaywithoutlove.com. You can check out everything there. He's got a wonderful blog. He's doing a really cool photo series right now as well with his new record, Solace, which you can get off his website, adaywithoutlove.com. And like I said, he's got some dates coming up. September 29th, the Velvet Lounge in Washington, D.C., October 15th at Ortlieb's, also playing on the bill, my friends, Night Windows. And October 28th, the brand new Milk Boy South Street, which, as I said before, I haven't checked out yet, and that makes me embarrassed to not have checked out a new venue in the city that I am part of its music scene, its championing of awesome cats creating and playing music. But you can get all that information at adaywithoutlove.com. Do it. Go there. Like I said, his new record, Solace, out on Sounds and Tones Records. That's the sound of real CDs. Get yourself one at adaywithoutlove.com. Whew. Thanks so much for checking out the show. Thanks for downloading it. Thanks for streaming it. Thanks for having it be part of your life this week. Go to 25o'clockpod.com if you haven't already, and if you have, go again. Check out the archives. Check out the Friends and Neighbors page. Links to Facebook, our Twitter, and also sign the mailing list. Join the mailing list. I send out a fun little email every couple of weeks, let you know who's going to be on the show. There's some musings. It's fun. It makes us all feel like we're part of a family. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. My name is Dan Drago. You've been listening to 25 O'Clock. Catch you on a couple weeks. Until then, take care.